Ready?
Yep.
Call this regular meeting of the Hardin County Board of Education at 5:00 p.m. on January the 20th, 2026. At this time, DJ, would you lead us in prayer?
Sure. Please remove your hats. Dear Heavenly Father, we actually be of those that couldn't make it for whatever reason today, be of those who are here, no matter what we may discuss here today, when we always keep you at the center hub of all things we decide to do. Dear Heavenly Father, the school system is something that we're all here for some reason. Sorry, that caught me off guard. God, we ask you to preside over this meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Would everyone rise and I'll lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone this evening. And if you haven't signed in, there's a paper back there, please sign in before you leave. And at this time, we'll start with introductions. Starting in the back with Mr. Armentrout.
Lee Armentrout, principal, Moorefield Elementary School.
Bella Stevens,
Mr. Yeager, Christian Yeager, our teacher here.
Finley, and McCain.
That's great.
Perfect.
Jason Stevens.
Randy Stevens.
Michael Sullivan.
Go ahead.
Warren Staggers.
Jennifer Strodman. Sarah Earl.
Tim.
Katie
Mr.
Sullivan.
Mark Ray.
Samantha Dennis.
DJ Taylor.
Crystal Kreitz.
Kenson Kreitz,
Kylie Mullen.
Tim Kreitz.
Jennifer C.
Sheena Van Meter.
Sean Collars.
Janet.
Roy Harper.
And I'm Doug Hines. I'm filling in tonight. I'm not the president. Our president is in Africa,
Egypt.
Egypt, okay. And our vice president is in Cancun, right?
Dominican Republic, yeah.
Okay. We'll get it straightened out here. We're getting
Travel
the jargon
time.
lessons. But he is on the phone. So like I said, Norman, I'm not the
He needs to
president.
probably
But I'm
introduce
filling in
himself.
tonight. And my name is Doug Hines. You're welcome, Mr. Shook. Okay, the first thing we'll start with is presentations. Student achievement recognition, Moorefield Elementary School art students. Mr. Yeager.
Okay, we had a good turnout tonight, 4 out of 6.
That's awesome.
So the door that-
Can I use your phone?
You guys can come on up when you are.
Jennifer, will you take photos for us? Mine's
So.
tagged in the Zoom.
Do you remember what we used to make this?
oil.
Oil pastels. We use oil pastels on colored paper to make this. Because oil pastels are beautiful. They're like crayons, but crayons are made out of wax, and oil pastels are made out of oil, cooking oil. And but that's supposed to be right. Let me say that. And so they make bright, beautiful colors. They look like a painting almost when they're finished. So we did some snowy scenes to make your board office look nice. We got 4 out of 6. I'm real happy. This is Emma Kate C. This is Tinley Kreitz. This is Bella Stevens. And this is Penny Sullivan. I'm sorry, I have 600 kids. I'm getting all the first names. And
That's pretty good.
we're missing Melanie and Esther. So I can do this.
What grade are you, young
Second
lady?
grade, I'm sorry.
What grade are your young ladies in?
These are all second grade.
All second grade. Okay.
So these are going to be hung up in the board office in nice frames right inside the door. So if you get a chance and you get your mom and dad to drop you off through town, just come right in the door. Tell them you just want to see your picture. You can take a picture with it, and they'll be up there we usually leave them up there for several weeks, if not a couple of months, till Mr. Yeager gets us another batch to put up. So congratulations.
Very
You want to
nice.
walk up here and let us see them a little closer, if you don't mind, so we can get a good look at them. Your forest pictures. Come over this direction. We'll make a little line, and you can slide down through like a parade. How about that? We'll start here. You're scared. What are you scared of?
Getting embarrassed.
Oh, come on. I know you. You're not embarrassed. Those are very pretty. Nice job. Very nice. Good work. You want to walk down that way and let those folks see them? And
Yeah, they're all different. They're all the same, but they're different. Nice
We
job.
need-
I like them.
Nice job.
Good work.
Thank you, lady.
Well, if you leave those with Mr. Yeager, he'll make sure that we get them and we'll hang them up for you. Okay. They're gonna fight over who gets to stand where. And parents, we'll get those back to you too when we're finished. We'll make sure they come back with the kids. So. And Mr. Yeager, will you send me that picture of too? So, okay, perfect. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good job, kiddos.
Okay, the next item is strategic plan overview, Mrs. Strawder.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. We appreciate you all. Thanks for coming. Appreciate
You
it.
get a dog, Mr. Price will go one night.
All right, I'll take
It's got to be a little bit warmer though.
Yeah.
Put Jennifer's plan in here. Oh, okay. Wait, I didn't even think to check that. She's just grabbing the public comment sheet. It's all yours, Jennifer.
Okay, I was just giving the noise. Okay, you have, in your packet, you had the full details and everything spelled out in 3 pages. To have it ahead of time, I just wanted to take a moment and let you know that we are having a federal programs monitoring this coming year. And with the federal programs monitoring, they will be looking at the Stronger Connections Grant, which is all through Title IV. And this is the last year of that grant funding, which we have been using for intervention support at the high schools and middle school levels. And they're going to be looking at everything with this with titles 1, 2, 3, and 4, everything else besides the Stronger Connections Grant. And that is what the federal programs monitoring covers. And as I put in your paperwork, it's pretty inclusive because this federal funding hits all buildings, all levels. But why does it matter? I mean, it matters because this is embedded across all schools and all departments. Why do we do it? I've tried to put short notes on here to not go over 3 pages and read them to you. Why do we do it? Because we have to make sure that we're compliant and that we're spending the money correctly and that we're using the money correctly. And we're trying to align everything to student needs and that we are making improvement with our instruction. We're making improvement with across the county, and we're not just getting the money and spending it on any old thing. So what are they going to look at? One thing, paperwork and deadlines. They definitely are going to look at paperwork and make sure that we have everything in there. All the dates are correct. The deadlines are met. One thing with federal money, if it's not documented and there's not a paper trail, they're going to get you. Not in a bad way. It's just that it must be fully documented and spent legitimately. And they'll look at all that. They've pulled separate things. They've pulled, so far, they've pulled things for a selection of checks. Just that they wanted to look at more and make sure that we did the purchase requisition in time, that it was spent according to what's in the strategic plan, that if we had a parent meeting, that we did a sign-in sheet, and if we did professional development, we have a sign-in sheet, and they have to do an evaluation of the professional development. All those things they'll look for. So they pulled checks on different things so far that we have. I've have them on the side of my desk and I need to get them uploaded to them. But they'll also be here in person March 27th, at which point in time they'll ask questions. They could just randomly pull different things that they hadn't asked for to already have uploaded to look for. All right, so what the monitoring examines besides paperwork and deadlines? It looks at how we have spent the money. It looks at all the fiscal oversight and documentation. It looks at what we're doing with instruction, with literacy, numeracy, and social emotional learning. I don't know, you've heard us talk a lot about ANOVA with math, science of reading with reading, and Leader in Me with social emotional literacy. Those are big pockets that we put money into from federal money. They're looking at our leadership development and professional learning. They're looking at school climate, school attendance, student engagement, the overall school settings, especially the Title I schools, looking at their family engagement and activities related to that, because those are all things that are required with federal funds. I'll take a little pause here if you've got any thoughts or questions.
I do.
Okay.
With the Leader in Me, isn't there a lot of family engagement with Leader in Me?
Yes.
And so how does that correlate with the federal program that oversees everything that deals with family engagement?
Depends on, I would guess, I'm assuming it depends on how each school is doing them. Some schools are tying Leader in Me family events in with Title I nights. And so they needed additional supplies or things. They're getting funding for those supplies that way because they do strongly link and interconnect.
Okay, I thought Leader in Me was Title I.
But different schools are doing it different ways. I mean, they're not all just doing Leader in Me family events. Others are doing strictly Title I funded parent engagement activities, whether it's book nights and they do various, I don't know, want to say scavenger hunts where they
Activities.
and
I've
things where the
been to some, I
parents
know.
get a training on what it is they can do to support their kid in school, their student in school. They're looking for those things, especially with Title I funding. Each school gets an allocation, 1% in the set aside that they have to spend each year on the parent engagement activities. So they'll be looking for that. And they did pull that. They asked for how each school, and Sarah has run the reports and Barbie. So I have to get that uploaded to them because they want to see that all the schools spend their family engagement money.
Okay.
All right. The next part of why this all links together is because all this federal funding connects to the strategic plan, which I've presented to you guys, shared the stuff, gotten your input on the strategic plan throughout the year. But the connection to our strategic plan goals would be one goal. And I thought we were going to be at the board office. And I was going to point at the wall where Dr. Van Meters put the pretty poster on the wall and say, look, here are our goals, but we're not there. We're here. Leadership development, which is one of the goals. We're working on administrative professional learning. We're doing the walkthroughs and instructional leadership practices funded through federal funding. The other goal, literacy and numeracy, funded through federal funding, looking at the data teams, the learning team times, looking at how the iReady, how the students are progressing with benchmarking, and targeted professional development to drive growth. I mean, we've done so much and are still doing so much with science of reading and the math. And we've really bombarded our elementary teachers. I know they're just so crucial with building the skills for the kids. Chronic absenteeism is the other goal in the county strategic plan, looking at student engagement and family partnerships and community supports. That's how all this links to the strategic plan. If it's federal, if it's not in the strategic plan, we don't spend the money, is what it boils down to. Or if we do, when we have this monitoring, they will say, you shouldn't have spent it this way because you didn't provide it in the budget or in your strategic plan. It all links back to this.
How often does this monitoring happen?
Well, we have not had a monitoring for 5 years. And on that note, one of the last things I penciled on my form to share with you all was, when we get this monitoring this year, it's a whole new monitoring form. So they're going to be looking at things, and that's not a bad thing, but they've changed what they're looking for. They've added in additional things, and I think we're good. I hope we're good. I know we do what we do. We follow the guidelines, but if we're missing one little thing, and I'm not saying this in a bad way on us, they're very strict on it, and we'll have to do an improvement plan and make sure that if we're missing one piece of paper outlining, a format of something that we do, like all our processes, we have to have written out, like what's our process for dealing with a homeless student and debating on the transportation. learned that from the last monitoring 5 years ago. We didn't have that process written down. By golly, we do now. So there probably could be something that they might pull and ask on that, and we don't have it in an officially written out component that we'll have to put in place.
How many
You just never know.
members are on the team?
There'll be 3 people who come.
They do a lot of it ahead of time too,
They
though, right?
do.
So they pull a lot of it from our online stuff.
Yes, there's so much and we're
That we have to
uploading and
submit.
doing. We have to submit on the system right now. We have to submit examples of everything and the massive list of everything to be in federal programs. We have to provide examples, and they'll look at that, and if they need additional, then they'll ask for additional.
So how did Hancock County get into their position? If they were obviously not in compliance with all of the things you're talking about?
That is
That's
just federal money.
programs that she's talking about.
Yeah, this is just federal programs portion of it. And I will say, if Sarah Earl says we don't do this with money, then
We
we don't
don't
do
do
this
it.
with money, even if it is federal programs. And technically I sign off on that. Oh, she signs off on that and she signs off on that too. And if Sarah says it's a no-go, it's a no-go. Yeah, we work as a team.
Yeah, the
And
Hancock
don't
issue,
just blow things.
their board was part of the problem too. I mean, if I come to you and say, hey, we need to turf the football fields, and you say yes, then we're all just paying the price for that, right? Because we don't have money to turf football fields. So it's about knowing what your budget is, what you can spend it on, what's allowable, and then understanding that you can't spend money that you don't have, and you can't spend money that you have for certain things on other things is the main. And they did that. They had $1 million, I think, in a football field. They had,
141 over formula.
yeah, they were 141 people over
Right there
formula.
hurts big time.
You know what 13 feels like. So
So, yeah, we're thankful for Sarah and,
It's a team.
Yeah, it's
everybody.
right.
On the money.
it's a
When
good
I
effort.
came in, it was bad. We were always in the red.
So this federal monitoring is to check. It's a checks and balances system to make sure that we're doing things correctly. We have all the parts and pieces in place. There's a plan. We're not just spending money as we shouldn't. We're spending it to make improvements and to support instruction and to support the county, and that it's a way to be responsible, be strategic, and protect the county. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to give you all that as an overview. And
Thank you.
We'll be here March 27th.
Any questions from Mrs. Strodeman? Okay, is there any public comment?
No.
Okay, next item of business, consent items.
Move to approve.
Second. Been properly moved in second to approve the consent items as presented. Is there any discussion? If not, vote. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, the next item of business is, and passes 3-0. The
4-0.
next is unfinished business, and Sarah, financial update?
Before you start, can I touch on something that was okay? This is if you'll take one of those and pass them down.
Thank you.
Mrs. Rose called about a question she had from the statements earlier, basically from the invoices, and I wanted to point out, you were asking about the water bill. So this is, yeah, which is good. So this is the PSD fiscal year 23 to current. And so I wanted to point out what you see highlighted in yellow are the water leak issues that we've had over at various times. So that's just those two separate things. But if you notice when you look at November specifically, because I think that's the bill you were asking about, that was the 1175. No, actually the most current is December, but you'll see the most current bill is December's, which is right beside of it there. But you'll see that paid when the invoices come through the next time around. So you'll see that if you look at every year prior, it's always higher in October, November, December, and starts to go down in January. And I think when we discussed it, what the issue is you have middle school, junior high, and Little League football using East Hardy Elementary's field. And so you have the concession stands. So you're going to have all of those events, practices with the bathrooms, the concession stands, and then that's the sewer included too. So you're kind of in the middle of football season during that time. So that's why that month is always higher.
And all of that is on the elementary school, which.
Correct.
Geographically
That meter, yeah, you would
makes
think it would be
sense.
high school, but it's East Hardy Elementary because the field's down there on that lower field. So that's why so I thought maybe if you saw the prior years, it'd make a little more sense than looking at the other schools comparatively, because it's a little lopsided, but that's why it is that way.
Makes sense.
And so December's was already back down to the 977, which is actually lower than it's been in the last 4 years. So that's good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Yep.
I hope I won't ask that question again.
Well, if you see it,
If
you
you don't have
ask
to.
and we'll double check it, because sometimes there are,
Okay.
issues. But
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Expenditure by object report that you have in front of you for the month of December that's closed. We went over last time that the payroll has now been encumbered. You can see that. The encumbrance for substitutes is any long-term substitutes that we have in those positions. We kind of go down through it the same way each time. So this time I kind of looked at how we compared this year to the prior year, just to give you a different kind of take on it. You'll see that our object 100s across the board is about $80,000 more that we spent this year than the prior year. The prior year, though, you have to keep in mind, even though we have less positions this year from RIF and transfer, we had a few months of the COVID funding left in the prior year. It ran through September 30th. So we had some salaries that were over there that we had moved back to our general fund at that time. The object 200s, the difference is around 150,000 this year to last year. Same thing, like that insurance and all that associated with the payroll that we did have over in that COVID funding. All of that has been in the regular general fund this year. The object 300 and 400 and 500 pretty much this year compared to last year is very similar. There hasn't really been anything out of the ordinary or extra, other than just the increasing cost of things a little bit here and there. And then under the last category, the main difference is we spent a little just shy of $100,000 on the track. So that's showing in there. So the difference, the total difference of 500, it's about $575,000. You take the couple $100,000 that we had over in the ESSER funding for payroll. We also, under the object 600s there's about $160,000 difference there. A huge chunk of that is our virtual school, which we had also paid for it the prior year out of COVID funding. So just to give you an idea, we're very similar to the prior year as far as expenditures go. For a different take on that.
I think that's one of the things too, when we were talking about Hancock, they did not eliminate the positions they hired through COVID. They kept a lot of those. I think they were at 90 and then they had hired 140, and they ended up not eliminating a lot of positions that they hired with COVID funding, as to where when we knew that when our money was running out, we eliminated all of those and any additional positions that we had through that and kind of pulled it back over, which is what you're
I
saying.
mean, the funding formula is doesn't allow for much excess in there. So unless you have funding from an additional source, which unfortunately Hardy County, at least at this time, does not, I mean, we pretty much have to stay right on that. It allows so much, as you guys know, for payroll, for repairs and maintenance, for it has different categories that allow so much for, but it doesn't give any fluff. Like there's no extra that it allows for, and we're kind of stuck within that. So I appreciate you guys making the hard decisions sometimes, even though it would benefit us in any position that we have unfortunately had to get rid of in the last couple of years has had value. I mean, it's been a valuable position. We just haven't been able to, we wouldn't be able to maintain long if we continued to go over the funding formula.
You do a good job.
Yes.
Well, you guys do a good job. Dr. Van Meter does a good job making the tough decisions and having to follow through with them, because it's not easy. We would like to provide all the extra for our students, but it's unfortunately the system's a little broken, probably.
It is a team effort for sure.
Another heads up, the auditors will be here next week. So they're currently scheduled for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It might be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with the snow. She called a little while ago and said that they would play it by ear. But they will be in the building next week. And we're talking about the excess levy later.
Yes.
I can,
Yeah.
do you guys have any questions?
I'll do my spiel too when we get to that. But
Do
if
you
you
want-
had anything for
then
Sarah,
I
I didn't
can
know if you
just-
were staying
I
or.
can say. That's
You
fine.
sure?
Yeah. that's no
Okay.
problem.
Okay.
Anything else? Any questions for Sarah? Thank you, Sarah. Okay, next item is new business. Approval of dual college credit policy, ICI for first reading, attachment 7.
Move to approve.
Second. Been properly moved in second to approve the dual college credit policy, ICI for first reading. All those, or any discussion? No discussion, we'll.
I do have a question. As I read that policy, am I right in thinking that a student can register on his or her own to take a class, but not necessarily receive high school credit?
Correct. So they can take, as long as Eastern accepts them, they can take any class that they want to through Eastern and get college credit. If they want dual credit, meaning it'll count as the college and a high school credit, they have to go through a certain process with us. And I think one of the things that we kind of revisited this for, where there were some CTE courses that were requiring kids as part of that progression to take college dual credit courses in order to be a completer. And so we wanted to create a pathway where if they had to do that, we didn't want to stop them from doing it, but they had a way that they could go through us to do it instead of just opening it up that everybody could take college courses, because there are some freshmen who don't have any business taking college
Right,
courses
right,
at
I
that point in
understand.
time. Is there anything else you want to add to
The
that?
other thing was the high school. I know Mr. Dayton had reached out about
Yeah.
an issue with kids
Hours.
taking so many and then like having 15 college courses that could be dual credit, and talking about the load that was. So that's why you see the 10 on
Limitation.
there and how
Okay,
many would
yeah, I
go
saw
on.
that
That was an
limit.
update
Okay.
because, and there's a clause in there for principal discretion depending on situation of the student. It's to try to not set kids up for failure.
Okay. No, I think it's a good policy. I just wanted to make sure I had that clear.
And at the end of it too, we kept the whole requirement of the 2.5 GPA. You had to be a junior or senior. Like that's still our standard. But if it's an exception, there's a form we can use and they can apply. We can consider them based upon all that criteria. So it
Okay.
won't lock anybody out.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. Any other discussion? Not, we'll proceed to vote on the motion. All those in favor of approving the dual college credit policy, ICI, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes 4-0. Next item under new business is approval of the Hope Scholarship fees, attachment 8. Motion to approve.
Second.
Been properly moved in second to approve the Hope Scholarship fees. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question about that. For a Hope Scholarship student to participate in extracurricular, and I'm assuming that means football, basketball, athletics, the fee of $100. Does a student have to be enrolled does he have to be enrolled in Hardy County schools?
No.
If he
No.
wants to play football, for example, all he has to do is pay that $100 fee and he's on the football team. If he's athletically eligible.
Correct. There's still the obligations that that the Hope Scholarship has for participation. That's a lot of that's the SSA WBSSAC rules that come into play with it too, to make sure that there's eligibility that continues. So how there's for Hope Scholarship specifically, there's the annual assessments that have to come in. So in the event that there's a student that's not submitting those annual assessments, then that can affect their eligibility. But the Hope Scholarship students themselves are not Hardy County students, but we're obligated to open up these opportunities even to Hope Scholarship students. And that's why previously I can't recall specifically when it was that the policy was presented to you all that you passed for having a Hope Scholarship participation policy. All this does that's presented to you all tonight is establish the fees associated with what we would essentially charge those students, because we're obligated under the law to charge students for participation in classes as well as athletics and all extracurriculars. So even things like young writers or social studies fair or anything like that.
Okay. My next question was, well, I think you've answered it.
Any more discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote on the motion to approval of the Hope Scholarship fees. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion passes 4-0. Next item under new business, approval of an order of the Board of Education of the County of Hardy directing an election to be held on May 12th, 2026 for the purpose of submitting to the voters of the Hardy County School District a proposition for an additional school levy for general expenses operating the public schools of Hardy County. West Virginia Attachment 9.
That's a heck of a agenda item, isn't it?
Move to approve.
Second, been properly moved and second to approve the order for a special election for a levy. Any discussion?
I do. I have some things I just want to share
Okay,
before you
yeah.
vote, so we're all on the same page. So I've had the opportunity to speak to every building staff at this point, except for East Hardy High, which was supposed to be this afternoon. And of course, without them being in school, I couldn't do that. So I'm going to give you kind of an overview of what I shared with them so you have an idea. In order to understand why we need a levy, you kind of have to understand the funding formula a little bit generally. And I know you guys have had some experience with that, but I'll just give you a brief update. So the funding formula, especially the part of it related to personnel, had its last major changes in 1993. So that'll give you a bit of perspective of the employees that you needed in your building in 93 are not the employees that you need in your building today. We don't need the same thing. Schools are very different. So there's a multi-step funding formula that the state has that's in state code that dictates how we receive our funding. And they look at what you're bringing in locally on local taxes, and then they look at what the state's going to provide to you, and they get to the magic number. So whatever they say you need to operate, let's just say it's $7 million. They look at local taxes coming in, and you get what, 85% of that is what they're expecting you to collect. So let's say that's $2 million. I'm using fake numbers. Let's say that's 2 million and we need 7. So we get another 5 from the state. That makes us whole to get us to $7 million. That's what they think based on their formula you need to operate. So they take that number and say, okay, if we give you this $7 million, that should cover everything you need. And one of those lines in that formula is personnel. And the personnel piece is determined based upon enrollment. So you have per 1,000 kids, you get 72.75 professional and 55.5. I did that from, is that right? 55.5 service. And they do that per 1,000, and that's how you get the number of employees that they fund for you to operate. So Hardy County Schools currently has 2,135 students. We have approximately 312 employees, and we are 13 over. Now, that's the prediction for next year because, as you know, you see a whole year that's completed, and they give you your final comps that come out. And then we have to basically guess for personnel for next year. We're always funded on last year's numbers. So the number of students we had enrolled last year is what's funding this year. What we have enrolled this year as of our October 1st count is what's going to fund next year for employees. So Sarah has to plug it into the formula and do the math and figure out based on that per thousand, like this is how many people we're going to get. It's a very high level overview, but that just gives you an idea of what gets us to where we are. So some things that factor into Hardy County schools that make us a little bit unique. We have a very high percentage of special ed kids. So we're this year officially at 25% special ed, which is 1/4 of that 2135 require services. Now, why that matters is because those 2135 and the services that are required for those special ed students are not taken into any consideration when you look at that formula. So if you have to have a self-contained classroom, policy 2419 requires if they're a level 3, you have to have a 4-to-1 adult to student ratio, which means for every 4 kids, you have 1 adult. That blows the whole normal class size of 1 to 25 out of the water, which is the whole premise of that formula is built on. So you have a few high need kids that require those classes. You get 4-to-1, but you also have to have an 8 in there because sure enough, one of those kids is going to have an accident. There's going to be an issue. They're going to need some individualized help. So we have one class in this building itself that has 9 students and 4 adults in it. When you do that in every building, it takes away from those personnel that should be assigned to English, math, social studies, science. No fault of the kids. their services are needed. It's the way that it is and the population that we're dealing with currently. But we have a very high special ed population. The other thing that factors in that is unique to Hardee County is our EL population. So we have the highest percentage of EL students in the state of West Virginia in Hardee County. And with that being said, that formula takes not into consideration that those students have to have EL services. So we have to have EL teachers that we hire because we're judged and scored on that on our county scorecard. If you have at least 10 of them, it's considered a population, and they're gonna rate us on that for our accreditation. So because we have to have them, we have to have teachers to do that. So we used to have 4, we eliminated 1 because we were over. Now we have 3 EL teachers. Other counties, Pendleton, for example, has 0 EL students. They get funded the same way we do. So we have to take 3 teachers out of what would normally be in those other classrooms in order to provide those EL services. So that's just a basic, important general overview. One thing that I have talked about that has come up a couple different times is why don't we consolidate? Other counties are consolidating. We are not in a what I call consolidatable state. We still have too many students in our schools to even look at consolidation. If our enrollment continues to decline, maybe 8 to 10 years down the road, we look at it, but that's not something that's a possibility now or that would make any impact. Our enrollment has continued to decline. We've lost 300 students over the last 9 years. We lost 30 students last year into this year. When your numbers of students decline, your per thousand numbers go down, which means you can get paid for less personnel, which means you eliminate positions, which I think one of the reasons why Hardee County was recognized in that article for doing a nice job is because we get rid of the positions when we can't fund them. It stinks. It's a hard thing to do. It's emotionally draining on us. It's emotionally draining on, would you pass this out for me? It's emotionally draining on our employees and our students and our families. But if we don't continue to do that based on the current state aid funding formula, that is what will happen. We'll end up being one of the counties that's, unable to make payroll because you have to cut the positions you can't pay for. It's just like paying for your mortgage out of your savings account. You can do it for a few months, but you can't continue to fund employees out of that excess money that we carry over that can be used for emergency situations. So that gives you a general overview of basically why we are where we are. We're now in a position where we have eliminated and eliminated and eliminated, and the next round of eliminations will start getting into positions that will impact students very severely, I believe. And at some point, you're going to cross the threshold of the state requires you to have all of these special ed positions. It's in the law, and then they're not funding you for them, and you don't have any other way to pay for them. So at some point, you're in the hole because you can't fund the positions that the state is mandating that you have. And that's where we're getting close to. So the purpose of the excess levy that you're seeing is to address those things. Now, when you run a levy, you have to look at not only what your school system needs, but what a community will vote for and what benefits everybody. So the things that you'll see in this levy that was provided to you, and I'll touch on those briefly too, before you finalize your vote. The first thing is employment and retention support. So that $1.3 million to be collected annually through the levy would be to fund approximately 20 positions. I think we estimated that to be 10 service and 10 professional just for the ease of financial, like a balance there. So we would have a good number, but that would not be 20 new positions. That would absorb the positions that were over. So we don't have to riff and transfer and cut positions that we feel we need. So for example, right now, if it's 13, we would then pay for those 13 out of that money. If that money was coming in this year, that would leave us with 7. So if we needed to add an EL teacher, a special ed teacher, an aide, a custodian, a cook, a bus driver, those positions, the funding would be there to do that without us then having to eliminate a bunch of positions. The academic intervention and support, those are interventionists. Those are interventionists. And we did that as a 1 full-time interventionist per building. And we did it with 1 part-time temporary. So a retired person could fill the one where the other would be a full-time position. That was $720,000 annually. And then we looked at the student athletic support. And that one was to bring in all of our taxpayers into our athletic events without having to pay for a gate fee and admission, basically. And that's $115,500 annually. That would cover all middle school and high school athletic events in Hardee County for our in-county events. That in Grant County is what they say sold the levy. That's what they voted for. That's why the community voted and passed it. So if you're a family and you're coming to 2 basketball games or 3 basketball games a week, you go to football games, you go to baseball games, you're quickly going to pay for that, the offset of what you're going to have your taxes increase.
Upshur County Superintendent said the same thing several years ago when they passed it. That was the reason it passed.
Yeah, that's one that's really in there to help garner community support and to give back to the community and to get folks to support our students when they're participating in athletic events, because that's important too.
Well, it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Encourages, involvement at bowl games,
Yeah, and it helps to offset the cost of the increase in taxes for people that are coming to. And then the employee compensation support, so that's $400,000 annually, and that one is to help our employees to offset the cost of the increases of PEIA, which is going to go up another $200, we're being told, per surcharge for the spousal, plus up another, the governor says 6%, I think was what he was saying, but I heard 12. So we know that PEI is going to go up again too. So we have some service personnel that make around $200 paycheck after they pay their insurance. And so this is just a little bit of an offset to help lessen the blow of the increases of PEI. That would be paid in two separate stipends to our two separate supplemental pays. And that would be one in December and one in June of about $500 each. So it's not a large amount, but it's just a little bit to help. And then the facilities and maintenance and improvement support, that's a fifth category. That one's newer to, I didn't get to go over that with some of the schools that I met with because we added that when our numbers were lower than we had predicted. And that one's just $25,000 annually. And that gives us some money to pull from should we need to paint a building or replace school furniture or do some things that need to be done in our buildings that we don't have additional funding coming in for. So that one also can be used if we apply for SBA grant funding. You know how we always have to agree to how much we're going to give towards that. That pot of money can be used towards that too. So we don't have to pay that out of pocket, which sometimes can hit us a little hard. So that's the general overview. Everything that's in here, the money that's raised can only be spent on those items. So we can't say we have an extra $50,000. We're going to go buy a van for the golf team, even though they might need one. It can only be spent on the things that are voted on. And this becomes a legal document between Hardy County schools and the citizens in Hardy County. So if this were to pass, we can't modify it in any way for the 5 years. It's a 5-year levy. You'll see at the in your attachment that you have that for a Class 1 property, it's $0. Class 2 property, well, let me give you the percentages. Class 1, it's 7.68 cents. But per 100, of course. And then class 2 is 15.36. So I think the class 2 is your residential. That's your typical family household. It's going to be a 15% levy. So just to give you a little perspective there, that's not astronomical. And then your class 3 and class 4, which were your businesses, are 30%. So those things, once we get our levy committee up and running, we'll be able to provide some calculators for you to plug in what your assessed values are. And then people can go through and get a really almost exact estimate as to what they'll have to pay, which is, I know, important for people to see. But that is the proposed levy that's on here. And I do have Corey with us from Bowles Rice, if you have any questions specifically about the process here. Also, I would bet that Sarah and Oren could probably answer them as well, but we wanted to make sure you had
How many counties have a levy?
44 out of the 55 counties have a levy. And I'm glad you brought that up because I don't have my paper in front of me. And that's one of the things I actually gave all of the school employees lists of the 44 counties, because we're to the point now where we have been able to manage without an excess levy since 1979. Yeah. And so I think that's a great thing. And I would tell you that the fact that 44 counties have one will show you it's not a Hardy County issue now. It's a state funding formula issue. And unless something changes, we're gonna suffer from it. And I think if 44 counties can support education and vote to pass a levy, surely to goodness Hardy County can do the same and take care of our kids, because in the end, that's who's going to suffer if we have to keep eliminating and cutting.
In the surrounding counties, the only county besides us that doesn't have one is Pendleton, correct?
Pendleton does not, and Mineral does not have one, right? Mineral does. Hampshire, thank you. Hampshire doesn't, but Hampshire just passed their school bond. So the other thing is we've talked about it's West Virginia Code 11-MM- 13MM-3, 11-13MM-3. And that is the personal property the personal property tax credit, and Governor Justice signed that into law in 2023. So if you pay your personal property taxes on your vehicles, the roadworthy vehicles on time, you get 100% of that back on your income taxes when you can claim that. And that would be the portion that falls on your personal property that's added to the levy also. So that's important to remember. It's also important to remember that while we're still paying on the school bond, that's set to be paid in between 2028, which is early.
Yeah.
It was 2030, but that'll be paid off early. That would be right in the middle of this levy, which means your taxes would substantially drop because that'll be paid off and you'll no longer be paying on the two high schools. And so you would still end up coming out, lower. This is much lower. Do you remember what that is? I wanted to check and I forgot to look at that. I can't remember the exact amount of that levy, but you would notice a substantial drop in your taxes when that falls off. And then even with this on there, you would still be paying less. So I've done that 19 times in the last few weeks. What questions do you have for anybody
I don't have a
before we
question, but I
bid?
got a statement. If we show people that page, they're going to not understand squat.
Right, correct.
So I think we really got to have several examples
Yep.
that are just flat out black and white.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm pretty sure I paid this in taxes, so this is what mine will go up.
Yes, and so that
If we don't
calculator
have
will
that,
do that.
I just don't think we're
Right,
going to
that's a
get
good
Yeah.
idea. Specific examples
Got to be.
of what you pay
Yeah.
now and what you're gonna
I
pay.
mean, don't give me a formula. I don't want the formula. I want an example.
So here is an example just for tonight, but I know exactly what you mean, and we'll do that for sure. Christian Yeager, who lives in Grant County, pays the levy in Grant County, and he said he pays the cost, amounts to the cost of 120 ounce Pepsi a week, which is $3, and he said he pays about $152 annually just for his residential increase. That's the addition that he has paid to his taxes. On that same note, you have Jeremy Roomer, who has a farm, who has more property. He says he pays about $200 is what his increase was just on the school levy. So when I say 152 and 200, that's just on the school levy piece. And that's a year.
Probably
So that
the
gives it
the
about-
taxes that we go up the most would be the ones, like I said, where you have your residential.
Huge landowners.
And
Oh.
businesses, like
Yeah.
businesses in town.
Correct.
As far as farmers, for the most part, it's going to go up some, but not as high compared to their increase.
Lots of rentals in town. That would be noticeable for folks for sure. But yes, we'll make sure that we have lots of examples built. And that committee meets February the 3rd, the first time. And so we'll get them rolling. Now, once they do that, from our positions, we really can't promote because we won't be able to.
Right.
But I did talk to
We're
all of
gonna
the
give
teachers, and
facts.
they
We're
can.
gonna give facts.
Right. What's the language?
Educate.
Educate, not advocate. So we can educate but not advocate. But I do know that that there are lots of folks willing to serve on that committee, and including lots of high school students. And I was excited about that, that we can get them rolling and involved in the process too. So
The other thing I think you mentioned,
excuse me.
You're not going for 100% levy.
Right.
And so the community hopefully understands you're just going for the bare minimum that you're thinking that will carry us through the next 5 years.
It is correct.
We're not even close.
Right.
Yeah, when we actually had our first meeting, we put together our needs of all the things that we needed. It was like $18 million annually. We were like, yeah, that's not going to work. So we really scaled back on what's the most beneficial to the school and the kids and the community, and that's where we hit that. But yeah, that's a great point too, Mr. Harper. Do you have any questions for Corey? No.
Okay, we'll proceed to vote on the motions on the floor. All those in favor of approving the order to have a special election to run a school levy in Hardy County, signify by saying aye. Those opposed, motion passes 4-0. Next item, board member superintendent discussion.
Thanks, Corey. I'll let you go. All right, bye.
I think, like I said, the article that, and I saw it in Metro News about the Hardy County was one of the most financially solid counties in the state, made us look really good. Since we don't have a a levy. And like I said, when I first came on the board, we were always in the red.
Mhm.
And I think since Dr. Ray Meter's been on, I think
We've never been in
We've
it.
always been, yeah, for about the past 6-7 years. So
9.
9, okay.
It's been that. I mean,
Not past it.
probably. I think the year before that too.
But
10,
yeah,
11.
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
This is my 9th year. So yeah.
You know, that's a good thing because we do spend, we're not like the federal government, spend what we don't have. And it is very tight. It is very tight. And I commend, like I said, Sarah, all the other board members, Dr. Randy Eater, other people on the board office, Orrin, Mr. Strawman, y'all do a good job.
Thank you. We
You
appreciate
gotta run a
that.
tight ship.
I had a few things for that category too. So I wanted to share with you the letter that I gave out to the levy committee just as the invitation. I just wanted you, and if you know somebody that you think would want to serve on that, you could make copies of this and share that. It has the date of the first levy committee meeting. So I just wanted to provide that. And then I also wanted to provide, this is a copy of the programs of study at South Branch for the 26-27 school year. So I thought I think I have enough there, Sean. I think this one's mine. I thought maybe you would want to see that just to have an idea of what types of things that are happening up at South Branch for the upcoming year. They're adding a few, I think, areas that might be of interest to you. And I think that's everything that I had.
Any of the other board members?
One more. It's Board Appreciation Month. So my hope was to have everybody here so that we could take a photo and post it. But just thank you for everything you do. And we'll try to we do need to get our picture updated. So we need to do that the next meeting we have everybody.
Anybody else have anything? Okay, moving on. Future agenda items. Anything from anybody? Okay, announcements. The next meeting of the regular meeting of the Hardy County Board of Education will be February 2nd, 2026 at 5 o'clock at the board office. Mission statements and accomplishments.
I would like to thank Mr. Staggers for his list of contact information for all of our representatives and important folks that we may want to contact. I appreciate that.
What did you all think of our meeting in Pendleton County?
I thought that it was, I was appreciative of the opportunity. I wish we had more folks participate and a
It's
better
nice to have people,
response, but
real live people.
Yeah.
That kind of
Disappointed
that bothered me.
over
We
the
took our
joint
time
person.
and went to
Yeah.
Franklin.
says a lot.
It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of emphasis placed on it. That's kind of the way I came out of it.
Michelle Blatt presents to the House Finance Committee at 9 a.m. on Thursday and the House Education Committee at 1 p.m. on Thursday. And our superintendent's executive committee is going out for that. So I'll be present in Charleston for that, but you can watch it online. So you might want to log in. They are presenting a new formula that's a weighted formula that's looking at special ed numbers being, weighted for funding. So just a thought, you might want to take a look at that.
And what we were talking about, we met with our legislators. None of them were there in
None of
person.
them
We
showed
were
up.
all there. In fact, all board members
the
from
whole-
Hardy
yeah.
County were there, and the superintendent and Orrin and
Sarah, and yeah.
So, but like I said, there's no real interaction. You can speak to a screen, and you don't really have the same pressure put on you when I'm talking to someone right there across the table from me. So I was a little bit disappointed myself. I really was.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the one, everyone that went. Yeah. Got to see some pretty country. Never got to see any wildlife, but got to see some pretty country. Anybody else have anything?
I want to say, I think if you haven't looked at some of the crazy bills that have been already introduced into our current legislative session, you go back, some of them, well, if you like funny jokes, some of them are, but some of them are scary, and a lot of them are things that we really need to keep aware of and contact our officials for the little bit of good that may do.
Yeah.
And that's always available online, that information.
When your total organization basically operates based on state law, every little thing you do,
Right,
those things
right.
become very scary.
I used to have a sign in my room at the middle school that said, everything I can say or do in this classroom is determined by a politician.
And it's the truth.
And it was true.
That is the truth.
It was true.
Okay, anything else under mission statements? Okay, the next item of business is personnel. And I think Mrs. Rose said she wanted to be.
You want last or?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
We
We can
don't need to
skip
go
it.
in executive session, do we?
I do not.
No, anybody? Okay.
I will recommend the following approvals of a leave of absence for Patricia Baker from January 6, 2026 through June 30th of 2026 intermittently, and Emma Smith, January 18th through April 27th of 2026. Recommend the approval of the service personnel hirings for David Howell Jr. as a substitute custodian countywide, Sandra Bradley as a substitute aide countywide, and Dallas Bohr as a substitute clerk countywide. I recommend the approval of the professional personnel hirings for Emily Hedrick, substitute teacher countywide, Quincy Combs, science teacher, grades 6 to 8 at Moorefield Middle School, effective January 22nd. Kellen Snyder as a long-term substitute teacher for leave of absence for chemistry science at MHS, effective January 6th, ending at the end of this school year. I recommend the approval of the professional personnel extracurricular hirings for Emily Kiefer, substitute teacher 21st century CCLC, Sierra Smith, substitute teacher 21st century CCLC, Emily Kiefer, social studies fair advisor EHES, Jacqueline C. and Linda Wright, National Honor Society co-advisors at MHS. Recommend the approval of the part-time temporary professional hiring of Tamara Kessner as an English as a second language interventionist at MES and MMS. I recommend the approval of the letter of agreement for Deborah Beck to alter her terms of employment and Robin C. to alter her terms of employment, both of those to be K-5 to K-6 remedial specialists. Recommend the approval of the following resignations: David Howell Sr., substitute custodian countywide, effective January 8th. David Howe Jr. is a custodian 3 at MIS, effective January 23rd. Ryan Runyons is an authorized certified coach without pay for football, MHS, effective January 13th. Eric Linville as a boys track coach at MMS, effective January 13th. Sarah Ludwig, substitute teacher countywide, January 14th. Amy Miller, substitute custodian countywide, effective January 16th. Sarah Howard, teacher, 21st century CCLC, effective January 21st. And Rhonda Kessner is an ECAT kindergarten MES, effective June 30th due to retirement.
Motion to approve the superintendent's recommendations on personnel.
Second.
Been properly moved and second to approve the superintendent's recommendations on personnel. Is there any discussion? Not will proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
And then I have number 14, right?
Yeah.
I recommend the approval of the, oh, till she leaves, okay.
I'll just keep on going.
Yeah.
Oh, you're heading out. Okay.
Keep on trucking.
All right, good deal.
Sorry, guys, it's gonna take me a minute to get together. I should have done this sooner.
What do you need that cane for?
For her support.
I just asked. I haven't seen her off for a couple hours.
You told on her in front of her daughter. Now she's going to be in trouble for not using her cane in church.
It's okay. I'm gonna be on a cane before too long myself, so we can be matching in May.
Got it. I'll get you a chair.
Okay, thank you.
I have a mental wheelchair to the church.
I'll just carry it out.
Sure.
Yeah,
No, I really
carry it
just
out.
want a cane.
And put it on that side.
I get a new hip
Pretty
in
sure.
May. So, yeah. Just, okay.
Am I good? I recommend the approval of the athletic hiring for Tiberius Clayton, authorized certified coach without pay for wrestling at MHS.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been probably moved in second to approve the superintendent's recommendation concerning personnel. Is there any discussion? Not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been probably moved in second to adjourn. Is there discussion? Not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Meeting adjourned.